Happiness is beautiful, it's a kind reality. Happiness is the highest good, happiness is free. So let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy.
Welcome to the Happiness Show. This is George Ortega. I'm here with Lionel Ketchian, and we're here to talk about happiness because happiness is, always has been, and always will be the point of it all. Today we'll be talking about happiness and memory. Okay, Lionel, why don't you start us off? How is memory very important to our happiness?
Well, you know, I'm happy, but I don't remember. No.
That's good.
The heck with it. If you forget, you forget. But just remember to be happy. I mean, if you forget everything else, your name. I'm kidding. You know, it's like anything else. You just got to remember to do it. And I say do it first. And if you can make happiness more important than anything else and make it your #1 mission in life, then maybe that'll be a good start to making it that predominant thing, the thing you want to come out with.
Yeah, because what happens, I mean, like, we have to remember a lot throughout our days. We have to remember the kind of job we're doing, the details of the job, the chores we have to do. There's a lot of things that we have to keep in our mind. And then sometimes what happens is, like, we forget what the purpose of all this activity is. You know, we forget that we're working, we're with people, we're shopping, we're doing whatever we're doing to become happier. So really, we've got to keep in mind and focus and memorize very, very strongly that happiness is important and to feel it.
And yes, and I think of, as you're saying this, you know, whole thing on happiness and memory, I know it is hard to remember things, and I've read a lot of books, many that I don't remember, but some that I do. And of course, you know, there's the 12-step program, the 36-step program, the 187-step program. But for me, when I teach happiness, and in our happiness club we have meetings, I've boiled it down to one step, partly, well, certainly because it's true, but also because of memory. Who can remember more than one step? It's hard enough remembering one step, especially when you need to. And once you've made the happiness decision, the only step you've got to remember, or the only thing you've got to remember, is to choose happiness. And as simple as that sounds, we don't always remember to do that. So I don't even know where to begin with memory, because it can get away from us, as simple as that.
I think you made the quintessential point. The only thing we need to remember is to feel happy. You know, because really it's that simple. If we keep our mind focused on happiness, if we remember at every moment, regardless of what else we have to do to, as we're doing whatever we're doing, continue to feel happy and feel very happy, that's all we have to remember. The rest of it, I mean, again, you know, we could be good at our jobs, we could be not so good. As long as we're extremely happy, it doesn't really matter.
That's true. And there's so many people that are good at their jobs and miserable in life, and the trade-off could not be worth it. I mean, you get to the point where you say, what am I living for? You know, we've all heard, is this all there is? And when, you know, when we forget to take better care of ourselves in that sense, and why are we making money? For the quality of life. Yet, the quality of life could be so much better for each of us when we become happier.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so that's something we have total control over, and yet we try to control the things we have no control over, and certainly probably won't bring us happiness, when the very things that could bring us happiness are within us. And the funny thing is, we've said before, and you've said too, George, and you're right, and that is, when you're happier, you could probably make more money, and the statistics are out. So by being happy, not only do you increase the quality of your life, but you increase your doability in life of getting the very things that other people are struggling with, which I want to sort of jump to another point that I know you made, and that is memory and effort. And I want to say that with happiness, there is less, well, there is certainly effort in being happy, because you have to make the choice. But I want to make a distinction between effort and struggle. And I love to say that the difference is that there's some effort to be on the show. You know, I drove down from Connecticut, and you and I are here with the show. This particular day, there's a snowstorm just waiting to happen. And as soon as we're done with the show, I'm gonna be going back to Connecticut. it took effort to get here, but you know what? There was no struggle. And the difference between effort and struggle is that effort is, well, I should say struggle is effort laced with emotional negativity. We don't need the emotional baggage of unhappiness because that's where the suffering comes from. All we have to do is put a little effort out there. You're here, I'm here, it's effort. But you know what? I'm having the most fun in my life being here, so although we call this effort, this is joy.
That is such an excellent point. Oh yeah, because there's that expression, if we're not doing something, if we're not enjoying what we're doing it wrong. So basically, we have to remember, that, the effort, half of the effort of whatever we're doing has to be to really enjoy it. Because if we're not, what is it for?
True. And, if we could learn to do things with joy, I think we could do them so much better. We try to practice our skills to perfect them, and then we lose our sense of, enjoyment of life. We become heavy. If we lighten up, we do a better job. If we are not afraid to fail, not that we're going to fail, but we realize I'm going to do the best I can, and I'm going to do it better the next time, but I'm still going to do the best I can. So I'll accept what I do for now and build on it and lighten up and be happy. I think happiness does increase your ability to do good work. I really do.
Oh yeah. And we were talking about how, happiness, becoming very happy, is as easy as just making that decision and staying focused on it. But then what happens is that sometimes it helps. It can help us to understand happiness. Like, for example, the number one way that most of us think will make us happier is by making more money. The research, 40 years of research, says that doesn't work. The same with education, the same with knowledge, the same with prestige, power, so many of the kinds of things that we seek, thinking that once I get this, once I'm experiencing this, I'm going to be happier. They just don't work. And so the idea here is that most people don't know these things. The scientists have known, the psychologists have known this for about 40 years when the research began, but this knowledge hasn't filtered out into society yet. So, those of us that know this, we have to keep in mind, we have to remember to not seek those things. We have to remember to simplify our lives by simply seeking happiness in a very simple way that doesn't depend on any of those things.
Yes, and I think, as you say, not seeking those things in the sense that if you seek happiness first, or really even more precisely, if you come out of happiness rather than seek it, because it's illusionary when you seek it. It's the old butterfly flying away just when you get there. You have to bring it with you. You can't find it out there. You have to bring it with you. But once you bring it with you, it enables you to do the things you want to do better. In other words, what I'm saying is that if you're unhappy with the color of a wall, you could be unhappy with the color of that wall for 20 years and do nothing about it. But you've been unhappy for 20 years and the color doesn't change. But if you could be happy and say, you know what, I prefer that wall to be a different color, your happiness could work to accomplish the mission. And so then you change the color of the wall. That's a simple choice. You could hire someone, you could work yourself, you could do so many different things. But in the meantime, you don't lose your sense of balance by remaining happy. So, fine, you can make the color a different color on the wall, but it has no effect on your happiness. And I think that's the important distinction. Do whatever you're going to do, but maintain your happiness throughout, because it enables you to get these things done much better.
Right, and you started off your example with the idea that we might be unhappy about the color of the wall, or we might be fearful about something or angry about something. And a lot of times in life, through culture, through our education, we're taught that when these things happen, we just have to wait for them to pass and all. We're like, powerless to control them. So one of the things that we have to constantly remember to do is that when we're feeling any kind of unpleasant emotion, we have to stop and say, wait a minute, this emotion is just not necessary, it's not pleasant, it's not it's not useful. So really, in addition to remembering to be very happy all of the time, it's good to remember to not feel those other feelings. It's good to remember that when those feelings arise, that we can immediately, begin to just overcome them through focusing on the happiness. Like, for example, with the wall that's painted a different color. So what? We can be totally happy regardless of what color the wall is.
Yeah, and if we change the focus a little and say, you know what? I own these walls. I have a roof over my head, and I'm happy, and I'm grateful that I've got a dwelling place that's, nice, and something I've got control over to change. Most of us don't think that way. And the interesting thing is, we spend more time being unhappy about things we have absolutely no control over, like weather and things like that, and we don't put the focus over the things we do have control over. So that's a little irrational, isn't it?
Oh yeah, extremely. And what happens is, I think, as our friend Ray Rogers was explaining when we did a section on thoughts controlling our happiness, habit. We're habitual creatures. We're habitual people. And so what happens is, that when we memorize things, when we remember to stay happy, when we remember to not feel these unpleasant emotions, then what we're trying to do is to cultivate that habit.
You're right. It's a habit of happiness, and the more we practice it, the more we condition ourselves, the better it is. And I think it's a habit we need to practice every single day, because if we don't, we're really forgetting, as you so well put it, to be happy, a simple thing like that. And I think conditioning is important. I think focusing and being aware that this is what you want. Certainly, if you stop for a moment and think about our habits of unhappiness, which is all they are, what good are they? How do they make us feel? They make us feel not only unhappy, but they make us feel helpless. They make us feel like a victim. They make us feel like we have no control. And when we change, and that doesn't feel good. So we learn and realize that, well, unhappiness isn't giving me what I want it to give me. So immediately the feeling of happiness is a much better state to step into. And then the power that you derive out of exercising the judgment to be happy is beneficial not only for us, but for everyone in our lives.
Right. And the idea is that, as we focus on each moment of each day, remembering to be happy, remembering not to be unhappy, remembering that happiness is the goal of our lives, this memory, this work that we're doing, will become automatic over time. I mean, after a while, we'll have to spend less and less effort to remember these things, because they will, as you were saying, become a part of our new habit of happiness. And so that what happens is, it's like, if we don't work on becoming happier, this habit of unhappiness can, carry us through our days, through our years and all. But if we spend, let's say, 6 months, 1 year, devoting a lot of time, a lot of effort to cultivating this new habit of happiness, our work is done. Habit takes over, and it's with us the rest of our lives.
That's very true. In fact, it may only take 21 days. It's like the light switch, in a new apartment, it takes 21 days of reaching for the wrong wall because you're conditioned, it being on the left, and you keep, reaching on the left that's not there, or a new car. But after 21 days, your mind starts to get into the groove, and you say, okay, it's automatic now. You reach with your right hand, you turn a light switch on, it's automatic. And I think this is what you're saying. I think the other thing to bear in mind is that when we realize unhappiness is struggle, and okay, you need effort to be happy, but boy, effort's a whole different energy than struggle is. And either we're going to make a decision now to spend the rest of our life exerting a little bit of effort for our happiness, or we're going to continue our lives struggling with our unhappiness. I mean, the choice is ours.
Yeah, and it's so much easier just expending that initial effort. And you were so right to point out that it doesn't have to take 6 months or a year. Oh yeah, there's one experiment they did. They had the subjects recite affirmations like, I'm very happy, things are wonderful, etc., for 10 minutes each morning for 2 weeks, okay? And after those 2 weeks were over, they were very happy. In another experiment, they were 25% happier, actually.
Wow.
In another experiment, this was 2.5 months, but it's not 6 months or a year. They went through a course to teach them how to become happier, once a week for 10 sessions, 2.5 months. 9 to 18 months after the course was over, they were still, on average, much happier. So those 2.5 months, those 10 weeks, got incorporated into their habitual thinking. So it is a process that can be fairly swift.
Absolutely right. I think it's again, what you put your intention to is what expands. And if you are going to be miserable, unhappy, and you're going to suffer with that, what are you going to do? You're going to need someone to blame for that when that hasn't worked till now. So it just doesn't work ever. And you could turn it around and find that the responsibility, maybe not the fault, but the responsibility rests within each of us, and we're perfectly capable of making this transition. And George, you and I have talked for so long about this. Happiness is easy, but you do have to remember to do it. It's just as simple as that. It's probably like brushing your teeth, but if you do it every day, it will become part of your nature.
Yeah, we've got about 1.5 minutes left, but before we close, let's just consider just briefly strategies to help us remember.
Okay. Well, for one thing, it sounds like an advertisement. Go on the Happiness website, www.happinessclub.com. Now, I send out a newsletter every 2 weeks, and that's free. Do anything that reinforces it. Get a newsletter, get a book, think about it, take a time of day, and give this some thought. Make it utmost in your mind.
Great. Okay, yeah, and I think also, it's the role of repetition. I guess habit is a routine in our day. Like, some of us will get up and read each morning. So if we read about happiness, if we establish the routine, then we'll be doing it on a daily basis. And each time we go over the material, they use this actually in religion, in prayers. Prayers, they're said 3 times a day, so it reinforces the thoughts.
Good point.
Okay, all right. So that's really it for our White Plains segment of the Happiness Show. Now we're going to join Amy Branch in San Francisco for our West Coast Happiness segment. All right, take it away, Amy.
Good.
Hi, this is Amy Branch reporting for our West Coast segment of the Happiness Show. As you can see, we are outside in San Francisco today. Beautiful view. Today we're talking about happiness and the pursuit of happiness, and how everyone is really in the constant pursuit of happiness, including myself. And today, my friend Shinmin Lee, who is a pastry chef she was trained at the Cordon Bleu Pastry School in Sydney, Australia, has agreed to share with us some time and talk to us about how her pursuit of happiness is really fulfilled through baking pastries for others. So follow me, and we're going to go jump in the kitchen with Shinmin. Thank you so much for reading with us today. I hope that our viewers can learn a lot from you. I was hoping that you could start us off by telling us how you got into this.
Well, I've always loved baking, and I've always done cookies and cakes for all my friends, and they've all loved it. The response to my pastries have always been good. But after a while, I just realized that I can probably do something every day that I love instead of being stuck in the corporate world and working and sitting in front of all your monitors and talking on the phone all day long, and I realized that I love baking, and
baking makes you happy.
Not just that. I mean, of course it makes me happy, but I feel I'm actually making other people happy. And the products that I create actually gets eaten by people, so it enters someone else's body. And it sounds cheesy, but I really feel like it's my way of impregnating the world.
With happiness?
With happiness.
I love it.
And
through
love.
Pastries.
Because
Happiness
I
and
put
love.
a lot of love in my pastries, and I definitely bake with love. And this here is actually another symbol of love, because a husband ordered this cake for his wife, and it's her first birthday as a mother, and so I decided to give her a heart-shaped cake because this is his symbol and his expression of love for her. And he was telling me how much he appreciates all the hard work and the lack of sleep that she's gone through. And her name is Rhoda, and that means roses, or a garden in paradise, so in Arabic. And so I'm going to put roses all over the top of the cake as well.
Oh, and they're right there. Wait, oh wait,
Handmade
right there.
roses, yeah.
And you made these?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just a couple seconds ago.
So what made you decide, put you over the edge from working in the corporate job where you were not very happy into pursuing something that made you happy? What was it?
You know,
exactly?
I've always known that I deserve more than just the corporate world. And I've known that, and I've said it repeatedly over and over again to people. Oh, you know, one of these days I'm going to leave here and I'm going to be a chef. I'm going to be a pastry chef. And I just got sick and tired of talking about it.
And one day you just were on the internet?
Actually, you know, I know that I'm meant to do this because I just dreamed up this idea that I'm going to be a pastry chef and I'll live in Sydney for a while. So I went online and went into the city's government site and found out that as an American you can't really live there for an extended period of time. So you have other options. You can be sponsored by work, or you can become a student. And I thought, you know, it's pretty much going to be impossible to find a job right off the bat from the US, but I can be a student, and I love baking, so I'm going to cooking school. And I found the Cordon Bleu in Sydney, so it all worked out.
I wish I could go and hang out on the beach and bake pastries.
That's exactly what I did.
in Australia.
I was a beach bum who baked all day.
And so have you noticed that your happiness has increased since you have pursued this dream?
Oh, certainly. In fact, I feel that I'm around a lot more happy people these days, because I think happiness begets happiness. And you know, when you're in a world that's more free, and you start to meet people, you know, who are more free, and starting your own business is very difficult, but it's total freedom. And freedom can be scary because everything's undefined, but you actually meet a lot of people who are going through the same thing, and you sense a lot of positive energy and excitement. Sometimes nervousness, but it's definitely outweighed by excitement and happiness.
So if you could give our viewers one piece of advice on what to do in order to pursue their own happiness, what would it be?
I would say to not be afraid, and don't be afraid to embrace freedom, because it can be kind of scary. It's really easy to settle for mediocrity and you know, do what you're told, but when you embrace freedom, you're really alive, and happiness will definitely be all around you.
Can you give us an example of how you were able to touch other people's lives and increase their happiness and love?
Well, one really touching story, and it's from the very beginning when I started doing this. I had an order for a cake, and it's from a man at my gym, and well, she wasn't his girlfriend yet, but his love interest was visiting, and he wanted to do something really special for her, so he ordered a cake, and it was another cake that I did in a heart shape, and it was a really moist chocolate cake with raspberry fillings. It was so good, and you know, and I took the time to make it really super beautiful with a personalized message on it with flowers, and he said that it was so beautiful she just burst into tears.
Aww.
And she wouldn't even eat it because it was so beautiful, and she said it was the most special thing that anyone's ever done for her. And he said that this really jump-started the relationship, and it was that one weekend when he gave her the heart-shaped cake.
Aww. That is a great story.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe I moved someone to tears, and so that was really rewarding for me. And it definitely made me realize that I'm doing what I'm meant to do.
Following your dream in your pursuit of happiness.
That's why it's called I Dream of Cake.
Shinmin, was there ever a time where you were in the middle of your pursuit of happiness through this pastry school and through starting your own business that you just almost had it and almost wanted to go back to how it was, and it was just too hard? And I'm wondering, what happened to put you over the edge to bring you back to your pursuit of happiness?
Well, I think, it definitely takes a lot of courage to do this, and there's always going to be challenges. And in many ways, you want the challenge, you welcome the challenge, but I can think back to when I had 2 jobs and I was working at a restaurant here in San Francisco and also a cake shop and trying to start my own thing. And I didn't have the support of my family because they didn't think that being a pastry chef is a very noble job. So I was really tired and getting no sleep at all, and my oven breaks down. So on top of all of this, I felt like the one thing that I'm really depending on is just giving up on me. And so, I crashed and I thought, maybe I'm just not meant to do this, and it's just too tough for me to handle at the time. But, I slept on it, and the next day I thought, well, it's another day and the sun's up and all I want to do is bake. So, yeah, it's definitely overcoming these challenges, and, instead of computer glitches, you deal with things like the personality of eggs and ovens giving up on you or overheating or, but that's definitely, it was very emotional, but I'm happy, and it's definitely worth it to save my sanity.
Yeah, and you stuck with it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Endurance is key, and perseverance is, it's really important, but in the long run, it all pays off because I get to do what I love every single day. I get to wake up every day and I think, yes, another day.
If we wanted to know more about your cakes or getting in touch with you, do you have a website?
Sure. It's www.idreamofcake.com.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us. I feel even more happy.
That is so beautiful.
My pursuit of happiness. Perfect.
Perfect. Well, I'm so happy you had the chance to come here today, and it's been great.
Thank you, and we'll see you next time. This is Amy Branch signing off for The Happiness Show.
Bye.
Happiness is powerful, it's our underlying need. Happiness is why we live each day. Happiness is destiny, so let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy.